Hello, so let's back for our project. So in the last video, we have changed the behavior like my simple database is started for application, and I define using my startup class for the simple database is started uh, only once time for our application. Okay, only one time, and now we are changing something to adequate our application to be more structured. Okay, so it's very common when I have some data source, be on database, on plan or file, I use them on the strategy of repository to access the information. So in this time, our application using simple database class writing for access information for our controller. So it's not a good practice. I created this form to be simplified and you understand how I can to building creating our APIs and endpoints. But now we are organizing the things to work in the using the best practice to creating the project. Okay, so to update the things, we are using the strategy of repository to access the data. For this, inside my folder infrastructure, we already have in the context folder, but I'm creating other folder that add new repositories. Repositories, and we are working on two new resources. Okay, the first is using a contract called interfaces because I would like that my code having the role is um, and good defined to implementing this and the sequence. So inside my repository, I create a new item of code, but I don't using the class type. I using the interface type. Okay, and I'm creating a repository for my product. So I'm creating my interface called product repository. Very well. I change the visibility operate for public interface, my product repository, and in this interface we don't define the code to implementing, for example, the search or the register product. I define why I need to implement it, but not how, because then how form to implement the things I using the class that it will be implemented this interface. Okay, so let's define what I need implemented for this repository for product. Okay, so the first thing I need to define a method to create new products for us. So I have the for now we are using the product DTO, but when using the repository we don't using the product DTO, we are using the entity class for implementing this. Okay, so let's using the right things. So let's me using the product entity. So the code don't found this reference, and you already know the things using the control dot to add the reference for my entity. In this entity I call the parameter like your product. Okay, so this is my first row. If I create a class to have the intention to implement this interface, obligatory this class needs implementing this method of creating is my role of game. Okay, so the same mode I have the updated my updated method for product. So I pass an object product, and I will be implementing the updated for my database. I have the other option is the delete when I need remove a product. And for this operation, I don't need pass every object, because for identify a product to remove, I need only this ID. So I find it's only this parameters enough for us. Okay. I created the create, update, delete. That's defining the read method. Okay, so I have in my search, in my get it by ID method. When I pass it ID in return, so in the three first methods, I don't need return any data, so I using the void keyword. But now I need to return a product, so I change the return type for product. Good. And for completing this, I would like to define a role to return a list of products for us. So I have in this product list, and I define it like a list or get list. Get list is better name. It's more understandable. Okay, so this is my role is product repository. Very nice. So in the next video, we are implementing the class to implementing this interface. Okay, so I see you in the next video, and let's go.